Hi everyone, welcome to V-Talks. You must be vaginaing for some reproductive education because today we're going to be talking about the vagina. In this special episode, we're going to bust some myths surrounding the vagina because there's a lot of misconceptions surrounding this particular organ. We're going to talk about the function, give a brief overview, and we're going to talk about the histology and the structure of the vagina as well as the diseases that can impact it as usual. The vagina is a 3 to 5 inch muscular tube on the inside of the female reproductive system that serves as the way for menstrual blood, discharge, and a fetus to exit the female reproductive system. It's a very common misconception that you can actually see a vagina. So people will usually use the word vagina to refer to the entirety of the female reproductive system, and this simply isn't the case. The external parts of the female reproductive system, the genitalia that you can see, are actually collectively referred to as the vulva. The vagina is just the tube on the inside of the reproductive system that you cannot see. So that is one of many misconceptions about the vagina that we're going to bust today. But now that you have a brief overview of kind of what the vagina is, let's jump right into the histology of the vagina before talking about some of the misconceptions. The vagina has vaginal walls around it, and the vaginal wall consists of 3 different layers called the mucosa, the muscularis, and the adventitia. The mucosa, which is the innermost layer, is a squamous, stratified layer that contains glycogen. This glycogen is used by the good bacteria in the vagina. As the name suggests, the muscularis of the vagina contains the muscular layers. In fact, it's composed of 2 different layers of muscle, the inner circular layer and the thicker outer longitudinal layer. The outermost layer of the vagina is the adventitia. This layer is rich in elastic fibers, and it's mostly composed of fibroelastic connective tissue, and it connects the vagina to the surrounding structures. So let's move on to some of the misconceptions surrounding the vagina. One very common vaginal misconception is the myth of the hymen. So the hymen is believed to be a thin membranous layer that surrounds the outside of the vagina or the vaginal opening. And colloquially, it's referred to as popping the cherry when a person with a vagina loses their virginity. The hymen is actually a thin membranous layer that does in fact cover the outside of the vagina, but it does not cover all the way. The hymen, instead of covering fully, actually only covers partially the vaginal opening. Some hymens cover a little less, some cover a little more. They come in all sorts of shapes and sizes, but it's very concerning if a hymen was to fully cover the vaginal opening because that means that menstrual blood cannot exit the vagina. During sexual intercourse, the hymen may tear, it may burst a little bit, and that's what causes a little bit of bleeding. But if there is excessive pain or actually discomfort in general, please see your medical practitioner because it may be a sign of something more serious. Virginity in general is a social construct. There's no such thing as biological virginity. As a result, we should stop using the presence or absence of a hymen as a measure for virginity because it's simply biologically not the case. The second most common misconception about the vagina is the myth of douching. So douching is when you squirt water or douching fluid or another substance into the vagina in order to cleanse it, and it's meant to be good for you, but really this is not the case. Douching is almost like cigarettes for the vagina. It's really not good for you, and the reason for that is because the vagina miraculously is self-cleaning, which is really incredible for an organ to be able to do that. So the vagina is self-cleaning and pH balancing through the use of mucus from the cervix and secretions, and that's where vaginal discharge comes into play. So by douching, you're disrupting the vaginal environment, and you're also increasing your risk for an ectopic pregnancy in case you force sperm too far up into your reproductive system. So do not douche, it's not good for you. The third most common misconception about the vagina is that of vaginal elasticity. So it's said that vaginas will lose elasticity or become looser through increased sexual intercourse or masturbation. This is actually not the case. case. In fact, it's been proven that after giving childbirth, vaginas will return to their original state of elasticity. Think of a vagina more like a nylon balloon that's been deflated that can conform to anything within it but does not lose elasticity. This, again, is also another way to shame people with vaginas for having sexual intercourse or for masturbating or for being sexually liberated in general, just like the myth of the hymen. And it's something that we should really take into consideration when we discuss sexual health in society. So now that we've gone over some of the misconceptions and histology of the vagina, let's discuss some of the diseases that can impact the vagina. So the vagina is usually the front line that is susceptible to a plethora of sexually transmitted diseases such as chlamydia or gonorrhea or syphilis. But aside from that, there are specific diseases that can impact the vagina. One of these is vaginismus. Vaginismus is a disease that causes involuntary spasms of the vagina during sexual intercourse, making intercourse painful and just generally non-pleasurable. It is treatable, so if you're experiencing this, please talk to your medical practitioner about it. So since the vagina is susceptible to a variety of sexually transmitted diseases, it is important to stay safe during sexual intercourse. Definitely use a condom or various other forms of protection for the vagina. And if you notice anything abnormal, please contact your medical practitioner. And as always, please be open about your reproductive health as much as you feel comfortable in order to remove the taboo and stigma surrounding female reproductive health in society. Overall, the vagina is a very powerful organ in the female reproductive system, being able to withstand childbirth as well as anything that is placed inside of it, though that doesn't mean that you should place random foreign objects inside of your vagina. The vagina has various different complex histology, and it is self-cleaning and self-regulating, and oftentimes it's best to just let the vagina be and not use harmful products such as douching or various fragranced body washes that may be irritants to the vagina. Thank you so much for tuning in to this episode of V-Talks. As always, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll see you next time!
G-Y-N-E-C-O-L-O-G-Y. It's a misunderstood field of study, so I'm gonna debunk some myths about the vulva and hymen. Show you all who's the real OG-GYN.